Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of our Chit-Chat podcast. Now, as you all know, this is not a very high-budget recording, and today there's a thunderstorm in the background. So if you do hear the occasional thunder, don't worry. All right, and we apologize in advance for the thunder. But back to our podcast. Today we have a very special guest with us, Leonidas.
Yeah, just call me Leo.
Yeah, he goes by the name Leo.
Yeah.
Hi, Leo, and thank you for coming on this podcast. Now, just very quickly, introduce yourself to our listeners, what you do.
Okay. Usually when people ask me to introduce myself, it's a bit hard for me to summarize, but I will try my best to do this. Actually, I'm a humanitarian worker working in a Christian-based NGO, and what I'm specialized is in disaster management. Disaster management in the form of responding to disaster in the emergency stage, and then followed by recovery, reconstruction, and by mitigation, and also preparing the community to prepare for the future disaster. So that is called disaster management, which is my specialist.
Wow. And the organization that you are in is Methodist Crisis Relief and Development, short form MCRD. Actually, fun fact, I was part of MCRD volunteer during the 2021 floods.
Yeah.
And I remember the Hulu Langa.
Yeah. I was in charge of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was my very first proper volunteering with MCRD project.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then after that, I followed you to Nepal.
Yeah, that was another fun fact. That was actually my first disaster management project.
Wow.
When I stepped into MCRD. In fact, I only worked as a humanitarian worker for 2 years and few months more.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Today's episode is really just getting to know you as a humanitarian worker.
Okay.
But just tell me very quickly, how did your career path start off? Where was the starting point before you entered MCRD, before you decided to do humanitarian work?
My dream is to always become a lawyer. 10 years ago, when I was studying in college, I was picking which course I should choose. And after looking, at my surrounding and how the way the people live, I told myself, and I told God, in the next 10 years' time, which is 29 years old, which is now. I'm 29 years old, by the way. So I told God to give me a meaningful and adventurous life. I don't want to look back when I'm 29 or when I'm 40, 50 to see how I lived through my 20s and I felt wasted. So I told God that, and God somehow revealed to me that a meaningful life, to live a meaningful life, is to live for others over yourself. So at the end, and also because I watched too much of TVB, so I decided to become a lawyer, to develop in my legal career. So I studied law and I practiced as a legal advisor, not as a lawyer yet, for 2 years. I work in corporate and also in some of the law firm. But I would say legal career doesn't suit me because I'm not my character and my ability doesn't suit to become a lawyer. One is that I'm not a malicious guy, and also I always make careless mistakes, and I was really inconfident about myself. So my performance was very bad, and that was when I developed a mental challenge in the form of depression and also anxiety as well. So it's a mild one, but I basically just stay in my room, for the whole 2 years. Didn't want to come out, didn't want to do anything. So, but But in these 2 years' time, when I look back, I didn't feel I wasted these 2 years when I had depression, when I had anxiety, because God helped me to use my experience to help the people in need. God reminded me that back in few years ago, He told me to live a meaningful life is to help people who are in need, to live for others.
Yeah.
So even though despite me having depression, having anxiety, God guided me to use my experience to help others by opening an IG platform. It's still running. I use my experience to share with a lot of people. There are a lot of international fans, followers that follow. So after that, I decided to leave my legal career path, and I joined MCID to try it out, and I love it. My depression, my mental health start to recover when I joined MCID. When I found the purpose.
Yeah, exactly. I think must clarify one thing. It's not like MCRD is less stress, man. It's stressful. Managing disaster, you're managing projects at people's worst, right? Whereas a lot of times corporate is like, okay, it's all about profit. It's about projects that bring in money. This one in MCRD, you have to find the money.
I had to find the money. That's one of my responsibility as well.
And it's very urgent as well, right?
I think the stress is there for MCRD, also for corporate working in legal firm or whatever. There's stress in every job, but what's different for MCRD work, for humanitarian work, is that you know that you're doing that for others. You're impacting others' people's life, empowering their life. So even though I felt stressed most of the time, but
it's a joyful stress.
I feel joyful as well.
When you finish a project, what kind of satisfaction do you feel like after a successful completion of a mission or a project?
That depends on the nature of the project. Like for example, the Hulangat, my first ever project in MCRD, in humanitarian work. I monitor the disaster management program over there. I just actually found a guy who happened to found I found a guy who lived in a neighborhood that is affected by a disaster in Hulangat. So he's a nobody there. The community, the neighborhood doesn't know him. He doesn't know any one of them. But I just merely approached him and I asked him, how I can serve this community better. Where is the disabled? Where is the underprivileged in this neighborhood? He just guided me to find the right person to help. So after that, I engaged him. I since he know a little bit about the community, so I start to develop project with him. Like for example, disinfection project where we just where he gets some of the volunteer from the community, and then we just take the disinfectant machine to go around the neighborhood to start spraying the disinfection gas. So. And also other projects like training of the community, he just helped me to develop the projects. And in Malaysia, especially in some certain communities, you can see that there's no sense of belonging in the community. Whenever you have a project in community, whether disaster or other project, nobody turns out for the event or for the project. But because of him, we managed to get the community to form up a local committee to be to specifically focus only on disaster and also for preparation for the disaster. Like training, even like develop for mechanism. That when disaster come, the community member know where to go. And each of the committee member, what's their role during the disaster. I feel that this I couldn't imagine I would have seen this kind of impact that happened in a community where it previously didn't have any sense of belonging, the community's members. So I felt a great joy in this, seeing them being empowered.
Because these are projects that truly bring about meaning right, to what you're doing.
Yeah, it is.
What drew you to this whole humanitarian work career path? Like you said, you wanted a life of adventure. You wanted a life that make impact. There are a lot of careers out there that also sort of fulfills this criteria. But then, why humanitarian?
Why humanitarian? When I was a child, my mom showed me a great example into helping others. Whenever she's free, she's willing to go to some of the orphanage home or the old folks homes to help the people in need. And she always brought me along. So when I see what she did, I think that significantly impact me to push me into the humanitarian path. Yeah.
Yep. And MCRD just happened to be set up at the right time, I guess.
Yeah, at the right time.
Yeah. And when people talk with you, or maybe your uni mates talk with you, do they ever ask you that question? Wow, why do you go into humanitarian work? Why do you change? Why do you not be a lawyer?
It's a work without money, without profit, without future. Why do I even join?
Yeah. Do they ask you all these questions? Like why?
A lot of people ask me that.
Your family?
A lot of people doesn't even know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Beside me traveling to other countries.
Yeah.
I think this is so thank you for inviting me to this. It's a good platform for me to express.
To explain why.
Yeah.
I guess because the normal Asian parent would hope that I spend so much money for my child to study and hopefully be a lawyer.
They are very supportive of me.
Yeah.
They are actually quite happy when I know that I decided to quit being a lawyer to become a humanitarian worker.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Besides worrying about my income, they are very proud of me helping.
But I guess as you went down this road, you didn't lack anything, right?
Didn't lack anything?
Yeah.
I think financially wise, is still coping. Okay, because my wife is working as well. By the way, I'm newlywed. So, but I think what I like the most is that the time that I can have with my family. Because this job, as you know, it often require me to travel to a lot of places, to other countries as well. Sometimes I need to stay in the country for 2 weeks. So it's a challenge to spend time with my family.
Yeah. Joining MCRD has allowed you to travel a lot, quite widely as well. What are some of the places you've been to? Is it mostly for disaster work or? For
disaster and also for humanitarian development.
Okay.
Like building water supply system, building schools, things like that. So I traveled to Pakistan before. I think Pakistan is by far the most dangerous country that I've been to.
Okay.
And
what was it for?
A flood that affected the whole country, back in 2022.
Okay.
So I just went there, help them for distribution of winter clothing, rebuilding school, and also rebuilding houses, things like this.
Yeah. Wow, and how was it in Pakistan?
I went there for 2 times, and actually Pakistan was my first overseas mission in MCRD.
I see.
It is a beautiful country with a beautiful culture and also hospitable people. But the thing is, as everyone knows, it's a country full of instability in terms of politics, in terms of security, terrorist attack, everything like this. So it was my first overseas mission. I was very nervous, and we went there. We met different kind of people with different agenda. They look for me, whether it's to approach for money, or for reputation for themselves or different agenda.
All right.
But also, thank God, I also managed to meet people who really like to help the affected community, having the same passion as me to help. I think
Mm.
that's one of the greater award that I receive in every overseas mission, is to meet people who share the same passion as I am to help the people.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you when you step into these countries, are there like already MCRD counterparts, or do you also go there and set up your MCRD partners in these places?
We just engage local organization.
Mm-hmm.
The only overseas office that MCRD have is in Nepal. That was back then before I came into MCRD, but we are still building relationship, partnership with the different local organization in countries that I mentioned. Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka, India, all these countries. Yeah.
What are some of your, as you travel to these places? Man, I love traveling myself, and my work in church ministry, doing mission work as well, has allowed me to travel to some very interesting countries. I think being able to travel to Nepal with MCRD was a blessing as well, because Nepal was never one country that I thought I could ever visit,
Okay.
but managed to visit. It was a
Okay.
very interesting trip. I always like to go there, and there's always something that I take back from these trips that leaves an impression, or it kind of drives me in my daily work ministry. What are some key takebacks for you? You know, as you travel so widely, seeing so many cultures, helping so many kind of people.
There are a lot of takebacks, a lot of achievements that you will feel when you work in humanitarian work. But one of the greatest award to me, like what I say just now, is that these countries I went that I mentioned just now, they have a lot of instability, in the country, a lot of poverty, a lot of financial difficulties faced by the citizen over there. So when I step into this country in the name of humanitarian, a lot of people will approach me with different agenda. So in this country, with the difficulties that this country is facing, it's common to meet people, who come here with requests, for money and things like this, or for their other agenda. But I'm really blessed to see people who, despite all these difficulties surrounding them, despite complaining that their family is facing financial difficulty, or that their children have no access to education, they're still willing to work with me together to serve the people who have no education, who are facing financial difficulties too. So environment isn't a factor of a person's character. It's a person's decision that affect his environment.
Wow, interesting. Do you look forward to traveling?
Yeah, I look forward to traveling, and this year I'm quite paying with some of the overseas programs.
What are some new countries that you might go to?
Not new countries at the moment. I'm the only person who is managing the overseas programs.
I see.
So we only focus on South Asia countries. So those mentioned countries is where I will be traveling next.
Wow, interesting. Your line of work is quite challenging also, right? If you go overseas, there is its challenges, but just locally, speaking of locally, being in MCRD, what is the key challenges that you all face?
I think not only being myself, but also other humanitarian workers themselves, is that one of the common challenge. There are a lot of works that is pending for your approval, that's pending for your planning, pending for your meetings with some of the local partners. There are a lot of works pending to do to implement a project to help the people in need. So with the tons of work that is in your hand, sometimes you will feel overloaded. Sometimes you will feel really exhausted. But you just need to tell yourself that that you need to keep going. If you stop now, if you just pause to rest for a while, these people will not receive the aid sooner. So one of the common challenge that I have is that whenever I step into office, I need to keep going. There's no time for me to rest. I need to keep going to plan for these projects. Otherwise, these people will just wait for the projects to be approved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how would your day-to-day life look like from the moment you get out, you step into office?
I often work even at home too.
Okay.
Also with different time zone, in other countries.
Yeah.
So sometimes we only manage to set up meeting at night. So when I go home, I also need to have meeting with the local partners too.
Wow.
So yeah. So
It's
that's
quite
why I
a-
say there's less quality time to spend with my family.
I see. It's
Yeah.
not just the traveling, it's a workload as well, right?
It's a workload.
But at the end of it, still satisfying to you? Still purposeful?
I will still feel a great joy. I would say I found my purpose working in this line. Yes. And I will continue to go for this line. of
Wow.
work.
That's really powerful.
Mm.
Now your journey has been very interesting. What would you say to a young person if that person comes up to you and say, "Hey, I'm considering humanitarian work either as a career path or even voluntary." What would you say to a young person who comes up to you and tell you this?
I would tell them what they will expect when they step into this line of work. Always expected to make mistakes. Always be ready to meet the diverse background of people. People with different agenda. Always be ready to learn, to unlearn. As in there are a lot of things out there that are waiting. They are still waiting for us to discover, waiting for us to learn in this humanitarian work. So always be humble to learn. To make friends with different people and to learn from them. Yeah.
I'll always be ready to learn to unlearn. That's very profound. What do you mean when you say that?
Like for SDG, for example, in previously, commonly in many of the NGOs, when it comes to humanitarian or social work, what they do is that they only make events, they only make projects, that is for the current time frame, and they didn't think about the sustainable impact that can be created for the community. Like for example, you set up the sewing training center to help the Pakistani women in Pakistan to empower them to have some skills, so that they can have a skill for their livelihood. So you teach them sewing for 3 months, 4 months. And what's next? After that, do you think that they have their sewing skill? They really can use their sewing skill to earn some money, to earn for some extra income. So you need to think further. You need to ask them. You need to to teach them how to manage their finance, and also teach them how to marketing after they get the sewing skill. It's not just merely giving them about sewing skill, a skill for livelihood, and also think about what happened next, So it's not just about the current time frame, but also for the future as well. So this is one of the things that I have learned. I've only managed to learn recently. So there are always new things to learn when you go through the process.
I see.
Yeah.
What are some of the mistakes that you have made along this
A
line?
lot of mistakes.
Can you share one instance or one mistake like?
Um, there was a distribution project for winter clothing in Turkey. So we managed to contact the a local organization there that to distribute the winter clothing to the refugee in the community. So we have another local partner that help us to make the connection. So this local partner, we call them A, okay. A helped me to procure the winter clothing to give it to B, who is managing the refugee community. So I make the appointment with B so that A can go to B camp to distribute. So, but A, he didn't manage to have enough time to oversee the whole distribution. So A went to B camp, he just put down the stuff and he just left.
Oh, wow.
And after that, when we try to contact B, for photos, for reports, on what happened, whether the refugee received the winter clothing, the products, we couldn't contact them, and we couldn't find them.
Oh.
So there are many stipulations on this. So, but we thought that maybe they sell off the winter clothing, or maybe they use it for their own agenda. So this is one of the mistakes that we learn, about trusting people, about assessing their reliability, and also managing the time frame. Yeah.
Were you there on the ground when this happened, or you were just...
I went there to assess the refugee community. I see that there's a need, but due to the time frame, I have to come back to Malaysia. So we only asked the A partner to go there and see. Yeah.
Wow.
This is one of the many
mistakes. Was it a costly mistake? Quite costly.
Yeah. Yes.
From the look of your face, I can guess it's quite costly, quite painful.
Yeah.
Wow. What other thing would you say to a young person aspiring to go down this path? Where should they start?
Join an NGO. If they are Christian, just ask the church leaders, whether there's any social concern program that's ready in the church for them to join. If not, maybe they can. If he see the need, if he see that there's a potential project that can be done for the needy, for the community, he just propose to the church leaders. And if beside working in a church, he also can join other NGO like MCRD. And many other many other NGO that's in the society. Yeah, that's the first step.
Yeah, that's the first step, and then the next step is to continue to join MCRD and stay. But I guess most importantly, you need to have the heart and the love for people, right?
Yeah, the heart and the passion to continue to learn, to continue to serve. Yeah.
I think listening to you talk, I also noticed that, you started off saying, you wanted the adventure and the what, and the life that made an impact. I guess there was the adventure, there's also the life that made impact. But then you also have to admit, there's also I think humanitarian work is also a lot about coordination.
Yes, it is.
Planning.
Yes.
Meeting. What else?
Communication.
Yes, pulling donations.
Yeah, pulling donation. That's part of my job too.
Managing.
Yeah, managing the team.
Yeah.
Getting reports from them.
Yeah, I think calling volunteers is one of the big part of MCRD and humanitarian work, right?
Yes, it is.
So
I would say for my overseas program, because of the budget, you can hardly get any volunteers who have the time and also have the budget to go with you overseas.
Yeah.
So usually I either get my colleagues or my other committed volunteers, core volunteers to go with me to overseas program.
Yeah. It looks like you put on many hats.
Yeah. A lot of responsibilities.
A lot of responsibility during this, you're saying 2.5 years in this organization?
2.5 years. So what I do to manage the stress, to manage the workload is, I always tell myself to do one thing at a time. I'm responsible for refugee development program, and also for 5 other countries, the program in 5 other countries, and also for fundraising programs. So sometimes I will feel overwhelmed, of course, like in this second I think about refugee, in 10 seconds later I think about the program in other country. Whenever I feel overwhelmed, I need to take a deep breath and think of what's the thing that I should do first.
Yeah.
This step first, then followed by another step, followed by another program.
Yep.
This is how I manage the workload.
Wow. Interesting. So you got the life impact, you've got the adventure, but you also have the stress of the job.
Yes. Common for every job, not only mine.
Yeah, true. But
Being a pastor as well.
Yeah, true. Somewhat similar. We need to start a project, pool volunteers, make sure it ends
Pool volunteers
well.
for MCRD.
Yeah,
or for
pool
other
volunteers
NGO.
Raise funds for MCRD.
Or other NGO that you find that is impactful.
Yeah. But I guess at the end of the day, it's the fulfillment of being able to bless someone else and the satisfaction that comes from it.
I went to Nepal in December last year. I had a committee meeting with the villagers. So in the villages, in the meeting, I asked each of the villagers to give their feedback about the project, like any question they want to ask, any concern they have. And when they hear the briefing, after hearing the briefing of the water project, after hearing the impact of the water project that will have on them, because these villagers, before the implementation of this project, they need to walk 1 hour every day to go to a well to collect water, and then walk another 1 hour to go to the village. So after hearing that, we will build the water supply system in the village. Each of them, they just step up and say thank you, thank you, thank you. I can never forget their face. Their face, their gratitude, their appreciation is what keep me going. You know, despite being a humanitarian workers, you don't expect to get anything returned when you help these people. But sometimes just a little bit of graduation or appreciation, will just keep a person going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I like all your stories that you have told me on this podcast and also off the podcast.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
interesting.
you.
But we are short of time. Unfortunately, I'm sure he has so many more stories to tell. But hey, if anyone wants to start off in humanitarian, you know who to look for. MCRD.
Can always
I'm
contact
sure they are always happy to have volunteers. But yeah, thank you so much.
And also just a friend who want to chat about the
yeah,
potential.
Yeah, if you want to just chat about humanitarian works, find him. All right. Well, thank you so much, Leo, for joining us on this episode.
Thank you.
And thank you all for tuning in as well. We'll see you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.